I bought my first house when I was 20. Want to know how I did it?
In this video, we're going to talk about what it takes to buy a house.
If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that bell so you get notifications when we put out some new videos. In the comments below, let us know if you want to buy a house or not. After you're done watching this video, make sure to check out the description because we're going to have a bunch of links in there to give you some free resources just to help you be an awesome adult.
If this is the first video that you've seen of ours, well, let's just start by saying we're not trust fund babies, and you don't have to be rich to buy a house. We've done a lot of learning by trial and error, and we'll happily admit we're human and we're still learning.
Oh yeah. I grew up with my mom and my three sisters. And we always rented, right? Always got evicted and always had to move back in with my grandma and live in her living room until the state gave my mom some sort of housing for us to go move back into. So unfortunately for my mom and me and my sisters growing up, buying a house was never an option, right? So when it finally became time for me to even think about buying a house, I had no idea where to start or what to do.
When you're just getting started in life, buying a house might seem like a far-fetched, impossible dream, especially depending on how you grew up, like Phillip and I. However, we're here to tell you it's not. It's a lot more attainable than you think it is.
Buying a house when you're young can be one of the best investments that you can make. Instead of wasting all your money paying rent, until you go finally buy a house, you could be using that same money to be investing into something that can grow into serious wealth over time.
There's a lot of different reasons that people might be waiting to go buy a house. And to be honest, there's not a right or a wrong time to buy a house. A lot of people are saying, oh, the prices are crazy expensive right now, and they're only growing faster and faster. And they're not wrong. The real estate prices right now are insane.
Insane.
When he bought his house a couple years ago, I was like, dude, I don't know, man. You're buying at like the top of the market. And since then, your house has appreciated in $250,000.
It's almost doubled.
Yeah. So you took that leap of faith. You thought you were buying an expensive house at the time, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing in value. So yeah, you can wait and you can keep renting until maybe one day the market finally crashes and the housing value comes down. Maybe. But in the meantime, all that money you're going to be spending on rent isn't going towards anything that you own.
But Alex and Phillip, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to live. Why would I buy a house now? Well, why not? You gotta have a place to live, don't you? Just because you buy a house doesn't mean you need to live in that house forever. There's a lot of things you can do, like rent it out, turn it into an Airbnb, rent out separate rooms, whatever. Or you can just sell it. It's probably going to go up in cost, or go up in value. So you bought it for this amount, let's say $200,000. Now it's worth $300,000. Look who just made some money. You did.
However, that doesn't mean you should just disregard some of those concerns. Buying a house, it's a big deal, whether it's your first house or your second or third or however many houses you end up buying.
Yeah. Obviously, you're going to want to have a good job. One, for at least 2 years minimum. All right. In addition to that, you want good pay, steady hours, and you don't want to have to worry about your job getting shut down due to shutdowns. All right. If you were able to work through the entire pandemic, then you're probably in a good situation with your employment. You just want to make sure that you could pay your bills each month, put money in savings, and still have money left over. If you need help setting up a budget, we have an entire playlist in the description with all these different tips and tricks on budgeting techniques. So make sure you check them out so you can get your budget squared away.
So you're going to want to make sure that this house not only works for you right now, but it works for you longer term in the future. Are you going to want pets? Are you going to want to have roommates? Going to want to have a family at some point? Does it work long term, or is it just going to fit your situation right now? And if it doesn't work long term, you can always rent it out. You can always sell it and make a profit on it.
I bought my first house when I was 20 years old. I didn't plan for it. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was deployed in Iraq. A bunch of the people that I was working with over there, they were older than I was. And they were like, when I get home, I'm going to buy me a house for my family. And I was like, man, that sounds like a great idea. How do you do that? We had all this extra money. Didn't really know what to do with it. I was a single dad. So I was like, man, genius idea. So they helped square me away and get me through the process, because if I didn't have their guidance there, I probably wouldn't have done it. right? But they helped me get all coached up. Bought a house when I was 20 years old for $185,000. Still got that house today, and today it's worth almost $400,000. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. 20-year-old me would have been blown away if I knew that this is what it would have turned into 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, 12 years ago, 32. Numbers. In addition to how much my property has gone up in value over those last 12 years, I've been renting it out for the last 8 years on top of that. I mean, I haven't lived there anymore. I grew out of that house a long time ago, and then I moved cities. So it's just sitting over there, paying for itself, and making me more money. It's pretty great.
Phillip and I are both in the military. We use the VA home loan, which means you didn't have to put any money down in order to go buy a house, which definitely helped out buying a house when we were younger. We didn't have to save up a huge amount of money for a down payment. But there are ways that we're going to talk about that you can buy a house when you're young without having to join the military.
Yeah. So let's get started, okay? I mean, really, you can buy the house with cash, obviously. That's way number one. If, for whatever reason, you just got $200,000 laying around and you're like, I'm going to buy that house. You know, maybe your parents won the lottery. Maybe you win it. I don't know. You found it on the ground. Probably drug money. Don't take it.
You have to live in Alabama or somewhere, backwoods, to get a house for $200,000.
Yeah.
But maybe you do.
Yeah. Or way number two, all right, you can get a loan from the bank. All right, and there's two main type of loans that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about an FHA loan, which is from the Federal Housing Administration, and then we're going to talk about a conventional loan, which is another type of loan that you can get from a bank to be able to purchase a house.
The FHA loan is a mortgage insured loan by the Federal Housing Administration. You can qualify for one of these by putting down 3.5% of the overall cost of the house as a down payment, and you have to have a credit score of a 580 or higher, which a 580 is not even very good. So you can still qualify for a house with bad credit. Now, if you have really bad credit and you're in between a 500 and a 579, you can still get a house, which is crazy because you can barely get a credit card if you have a credit score in that range. But with a 500 to a 579, you can still get a house. You just have to put down a way bigger down payment of 10%, which, I mean, most people don't have 10% saved up.
If you're using an FHA loan to get a house, you're going to have to pay an FHA mortgage insurance every single month on top of your mortgage payment. All right. Now, when you're getting your initial loan, your mortgage insurance is going to be wrapped in with your mortgage. All right. And then you're going to be paying your monthly payments on your mortgage and your mortgage insurance at the same time. If you put down less than 10% of your home's value on that down payment, you're going to pay FHA mortgage insurance for the life of your loan. But if you put down 10% of the home's value or more, you only have to pay your FHA mortgage insurance for 11 years. It's kind of a big deal.
The part about the mortgage insurance that he's talking about, the PMI is what it's referred to, does suck. I mean, it allows you to get into a house when you don't have good credit, but it does make your mortgage more expensive because you have to pay the mortgage for the house and then you got to pay that insurance. So it does go up. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
But or in the long run, I mean, you'd be like Phillip and buy a house for what, $185,000? And then eventually it's worth $400,000 or $500,000, whatever it is, you know, 10, 15 years from now, if you stay that long or you're renting it out or whatever, it's worth it. But in the short term, it can be pretty spendy.
For example, let's say you buy a house for $200,000, you got a credit score of like 640, and you put down that 3.5% down payment. All right, your primary mortgage insurance monthly payment is probably going to be between $150 and $200 a month, in addition to whatever your mortgage is going to be. All right, that's just an example. Now that could go up or down depending on what your credit score is, depending on, you know, the hazards in your area or what have you. But that's just kind of a generalized example of what that will cost you in addition to the mortgage.
So does that go up based on the value of the house?
It would.
Okay.
Yes.
So if we're talking somebody doesn't live in Alabama and they're not buying a $200,000 house because that's not realistic for most of the country, let's say $400,000 is more realistic, you're probably looking at like $300 to $400 in PMI each month, right? And that's all money that you never get back, right? You're just paying extra money every month because your credit isn't good, but it allowed you to get into a house. and then that house appreciates in value over time, and it's more expensive up front, but in the long term, your house is going to be worth a lot more money. And the longer you wait to get into a house, the more expensive they get, right? So it's catch-22. So if you're like, oh, the PMI is not worth it because, it's an extra $300, $400, or $500 a month, depending on where you live or how expensive your house is. Well, the longer you wait, the more expensive the houses are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Don't worry, we'll talk a little bit more about this PMI stuff and how you can get around it in the future. But we'll get a little bit further through this video before we talk about that type of stuff, okay?
Some of the benefits of the FHA loan are you can have lower credit scores than other types of conventional loans. You can get into it with only 3.5% down, and you can get approved for this type of loan with a debt-to-income ratio of up to 50%. But the big disadvantage to this type of loan is the mortgage insurance, because you're going to have to pay that for the life of the loan unless you put down 10% or more for the down payment. But, let's be real, most people do not have 10% of a home value to put down.
Yeah. FHA loans, they're going to be great for those people with little savings and they have some sort of credit challenge or bad credit, or they're just getting their credit started. All right? A lot of the times these loans are getting approved because they're insured by the Federal Housing Administration, and that's just going to make it easier to get than a conventional loan.
Now you got conventional loans, and those are going to be harder to qualify for than a government-backed FHA loan, but they're going to apply to more people and a lot more properties. So when you have an FHA, it's going to limit you to the value of the property that you can actually purchase. So these conventional loans that aren't backed by the government, you can get into them as long as you have a credit score of a 620 or higher. So it's a different credit threshold, and you can get into a 620 or higher, although your interest rate's not going to be very good at a 620.
Mm-hmm.
So the better your credit score is, the better your interest rate's going to be. So if you have a 740 or higher, you're going to have a way better interest rate. So your payment's going to be a lot lower than if you had a 620 just barely eking into a conventional loan. Also, you typically have to have 3% to put down.
So like you said, the least amount of money you can put down on a loan for conventional is 3%. But if you put down anything less than 20% of the home's value, you're going to have that primary mortgage insurance. Okay? So if you put down a 21% down payment, you don't have to have PMI. Okay? Which is awesome if you're trying to avoid that. But if you can't afford a 21% down payment or something like that because you didn't have a house prior to that you could pull the equity out of when you sold, then looks like you're paying some primary mortgage insurance, all right? But it's not the worst thing in the world. It's going to give you a house, and that house can grow in value, a lot of value, and it can really help you. So, pick your evil.
A lot of people talk about, oh, I need to save up for X amount of years so I can put down that 20% to get my first house.
Mm-hmm.
I would never do that.
Mm-mm.
I would never. I'd rather pay the PMI, save up 3%, because that's a lot less time it takes to save up 3% than 20%, because in the time it would take you to save up the additional 17%, right? If you have that 3%, maybe it's a year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know how much money you make or how expensive the house is, but the houses just go up in value in that time. So
right.
They just get more expensive while you're trying to save up to get that 20%. I'd rather just put down the 3%, eat the PMI cost every month, and then have a house that's going up in value that I own.
Yeah. Great little secret here, kids, okay? And I know this because one of my buddies is a mortgage lender, okay? So let's say you buy a house for $300,000, okay, today, all right? You put down your 3%, which is what, $9,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you put that down. Now you have the house for 3 years, okay? So you've been making your payments, and that's eating away at the home's, what you have lended against the home, and then the house is going up in value at the same time. So 3 years from now, you get the house appraised or something, right? Now that house is worth $500,000, but you only owe, let's say $300,000 or $290,000, right? So now you're beyond that 20% of value, and you can refinance your home and get rid of the PMI.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little secret. You're welcome.
Since Phillip and I are both in the military, we thought we would talk about VA home loans for just a quick second, because that's what we used, and it's a great benefit because it literally allowed us to get into a house with $0 down payment.
You see it all.
And it's for current active military members, military in the reserves, National Guard, veterans, and some eligible spouses. can all qualify for this. It is a great benefit.
If you don't know this already, we're recruiters for the military, right? And one of the biggest reasons why people come into our office to chat with us is either health insurance or the VA home loan, all right? It's a great benefit. We've used it, and it's awesome. So there's a lot of loans that are out there that are backed or insured by the federal government, and the VA is one of them, just like the FHA is one of them. Now, they're different, okay? The VA doesn't require a particular credit score for you to be able to qualify for them, and they don't require a down payment, and they don't require PMI, which is your primary mortgage insurance. So, like we had said already, it's pretty awesome if you have the ability to use it. The downside to the VA is every time you use it, you have a VA funding fee. The first time you use it, it's like $13,000, and it just goes up every time you use it thereafter. That's probably the only downside to it. But if you have a VA rating, a disability, then you don't have to pay it because it gets waived.
I'm not disabled, so I just had to pay it.
Me
I
neither.
bought a house like a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to eat $16,000 in funding fees.
Yeah, because what's your third time using it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I didn't have to put any money down, and it got me into a house expensive. So
Mm-hmm.
buying a house is going to be one of the most expensive things you probably do in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the market right now, it doesn't show any signs of slowing down. It's just getting more and more expensive.
Yeah.
So, being in the military, that's one of the best benefits is getting that VA home loan because it makes it actually affordable or realistic for a lot of people who don't make enough money to qualify for these houses that are getting to be outrageous in price.
Outrageous,
They're
y'all.
not $200,000 for the most part.
No. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. As well, make sure you check out the description. Find those links in there for all of our cool free resources that we have available to you guys. And then in the comments below, let us know what age you want to buy your first house.
And we'll see you in the next video.